God is a God of restoration. That means, irrespective of what has happened to you, there is always a second chance. And it's very, very important to think about that. The fact that irrespective of what a mess you have become or what a mess you have made everything around you is, it's very important to understand that the God we believe in is a God of the second chance and a God who actually can bring restoration. And that is restoration for anything, even the worst you have done, even when you are the one responsible for messing your own life. You can be brought back to the original position. That's what it means by you are restored. Whatever God's intention was for your life. I think that is something that is very, very, very important. I don't know. You have heard the story of this boy whose father was a master artist, well known for to the then known world, and he used to take several months to do one picture. But in his studio, it was a no-go zone. The wife, the children were not allowed to ever go there. But one day, he seems to not to have kept the key very well. And so the boy was keen to go to the room. And he had seen the father drawing. So when he was able to go in secretly, when the father was away, he went to the picture that he had already spent several months working on, took a paintbrush and started drawing lines in all kinds of directions. The mother wondered where the boy went. Then he realized what he has done. He took the boy and said, I don't know what your father will do to you. He could see the boy dead because he had spent several months' work in destroying that picture. And he said, you have to wait and see what your father will do. When the father came, it is true he was totally unhappy. But that was the son. What was he going to do? The boy was apologetic. He asked for forgiveness. And the mother was even more pleading. He didn't want the son to be destroyed. So the father went inside the studio and certainly saw what a mess the boy had done. But all of a sudden, he got an inspiration. What was the inspiration? That he could restore the picture and become better. So he started using the lines that were going to the wrong direction and created a new picture. He got a new vision for the picture. And we are told by historians that picture ended up to become a masterpiece, despite the fact that in between it had been a destroyed picture. Surely that is an artist doing it. God is better than any artist. He is the one who created us. And when we come to him, it is good to know that he can return us back to our original position. He can restore us to the original intentions for our life. That is despite drawing the lines the wrong direction, spoiling the picture. All that you have done. Did you become a single lady because of getting a child at the wrong time with the wrong people? And now here you are, he dumped you. Your life is totally messed up. So you think God is saying he's a God of a second chance, he's a God of restoration. Despite that, because your child will be there to remind you of the meandering. But he's a God who will forgive you. Take your son, who is a sign of your spoiled past, and make a life out of you. You will be grateful for your son, despite the beginning being something that is not something you are proud about. I don't know whether it's a business where you have made wrong decisions and messed up. Come back to God. He's a God who can restore that business to what it was supposed to be. Or maybe it's your marriage that is on the rocks, totally spoiled. Come back to God. He's a God who can restore, completely restore that marriage to what it was. Maybe it's your son who has become a drug addict, or he's spoiled, completely spoiled. Wow, come to God. Commit your son to God, who is able, despite having lost his teenage years, he can reorganize him in his 30s and make a life out of him. Nobody will believe the story of where he passed through. That is the God we believe in. Just look at what we are learning about New Zion being restored, a new Zion, in Isaiah chapter 62. For Zion's sake, I'll not keep silent. For Jerusalem's sake, I'll not remain quiet, till her vindication shines out like the dawn, her salvation like a blazing torch. That's what God will do. That He can restore to a newness that will bring you to a new dawn, bring a vindication that brings Jerusalem to a new dawn, to a salvation like a blazing torch, like a blazing torch. Can you imagine? With all the mess Jerusalem has been in, Isaiah has already prophesied that they are going to go to captivity, but he can see further on and see that when the Israelites repent, God will restore them, and you give them vindication that shines like the dawn, salvation like a blazing torch. That's the God we believe in, and that's the God who is promising several things. Verse 2, he says, the nation will see your vindication, and all kings your glory. You will be called a new name, the mouth of the Lord will bestow. In other words, the restoration is such that even outsiders will see, and they will see you are vindicated, you have been justified, the past and evil has been changed. And all the kings will see the glory of the new restored Jerusalem. You will be called a new name. They can't say, call you the old name. They realize you are not exactly the same. Things have changed. And how will that happen? It is the mouth of the Lord that will bestow this. It's God himself who can bring this kind of restoration. And it's important to understand what he is saying. Look at verse 3. You will be a crown of splendor in the Lord's hand. You will be a crown of splendor in the Lord's hand. A royal diadem in the hand of your God. Hey, the kind of pictures of this restored Israel. It will be, this restored Israel will be the crown of splendor in the Lord's hands. It will be a royal diadem in the hand of the Lord. Now, when that restoration comes, several things will happen. And verse 4 starts mentioning them. You get into new relationships. The moment you are restored, you get to new relationships. You know, the first thing is you'll be called married rather than deserted. Just look at verse 4. No longer will they call you deserted or name you your land desolate, but you will be called Hephzibah, and your land Beulah, for the Lord will take delight in you, and your land will be married. Wow. What they are being promised is that they will be like having new relationship. You'll be called married rather than deserted. And that basically, of course, you can see the difference between a woman who has been deserted by the husband and the one with a husband. And the picture God is giving is that he is able to bring back relationships so that you are no longer called deserted. God brings back, and maybe there's somebody in your life that you disagreed so seriously for the last 10 years. You no longer talk with each other, and God is saying, no, I'm able to call you no longer deserted, but one that is married, no longer desolate. It's very important to understand that whoever deserted you, God can bring them back. I still remember listening to a story of a friend of mine who was left by the wife. Many years later, the wife got saved or resaved and came back, and they were back together, and they say, wow, the God of the second chance, the God of restoration. And I don't know who it is you are currently thinking about, whom you no longer talk. Give the matter to God, and you will see your relationship. Is it your boss? Is it your subordinate? Is it your neighbor? Is it your relative? Is it your uncle? That you no longer can talk. He has deserted you, left you on your own, or you have deserted him. God is able to bring them back. The second thing, so he can create new relationships. Married, not deserted. The second term he uses is, you become fruitful, not desolate. You know, desolate is barren, is the picture of a barren land, worthless land that nobody can value. And that maybe that's what you are. Everybody has given up on you. You have no benefit to your family. You have no benefit to your relatives. You have no benefit to your organization. God is saying he can bring back restoration so that you not only have new relationships, you become fruitful and productive, no longer to be described as desolate land. And you need to understand God is the one who can make you fruitful. Your latter years, very, very fruitful. In fact, he is saying that once he has done his work, number 3, he will make you a delight. That's what this word that is called Hephzibah. That means you will become a delight. People will be happy to spend time with you because now you are productive and you have good relationship. You will be happy to belong to him, happy to be with your father again, happy to be with your uncle again. So you will become God's delight. Hephzibah. But that's not the only thing you will become. You will also become Beulah. Your land will become Beulah. That's a land that belongs to God and that can bring good. My prayer is that as we talk about this, that God will bring you to that kind of a restoration. But the passage goes on in verse 5, and he is saying, as a young man marries a young woman, so will your builder marry you. As a bridegroom rejoices over his bride, so will your God rejoice in you. That's the restored, how we are talking about how the restored land, the restored people look like. So the first thing we have seen is new relationships. Second thing we have seen is new prosperity. That God will make you prosperous. New prosperity. And he is desiring. The prophet is talking about that